Imagine this. You've built the perfect defense system. Top-tier surface-to-air missiles, state-of-the-art radar, fully integrated, fully networked. And then, in an instant, it all goes offline. No radar, no comms, and no defense. It's complete chaos. And that didn't happen by accident. That's the EA-18G Growler. This is what electronic warfare dominance looks like. The Growler story starts late in the 1990s, at a time when the US Navy knew it had a growing problem. Its frontline electronic warfare aircraft, the venerable EA-6B Prowler, had been the workhorse for decades, jamming enemy radars, disrupting communications, and escorting strike packages into hostile territory. But by the early 2000s, the Prowler was getting old. Really old. It was slow, it was maintenance heavy, and worse, it couldn't keep up with the newest generation of fast, agile strike fighters like the FA-18 Super Hornet. The Navy needed a replacement that could do a few things. Keep up with and maneuver like high-speed carrier strike groups, survive in modern high-threat environments, and deliver powerful electronic attacks against increasingly advanced enemy defenses. The solution? Take the proven and versatile Super Hornet airframe and turn it into an electronic attack powerhouse. Boeing, working alongside Northrop Grumman for specialized electronic systems, designed the EA-18G Growler, a two-seat, twin-engine electronic warfare aircraft built on the Super Hornet platform but modified from nose to tail for a completely different mission. Its goal wasn't to out-dogfight enemy jets. It was to blind them, to jam their radars, confuse their missiles, disrupt their targeting systems, and make life hell for enemy air defenses. The Growler took its first flight on August 15, 2006. Just 2 years later, in 2008, it officially entered service with the US Navy's Electronic Attack Squadron VAQ-129, the Vikings. Since then, it's evolved through steady upgrades. The ALQ-218 receivers and ALQ-99 jamming pods were its original backbone, adapted from the Prowler but integrated into a much faster, more agile jet. Now they're working on the next generation jammer pods. They're also working on Block 2 upgrades, which overhaul the cockpit, boost survivability, and future-proof the aircraft for modern contested environments. Since its introduction, the Growler has played a key role in almost every major US combat operation. It's flown combat missions over Iraq and Syria as part of Operation Inherent Resolve, blinding ISIS air defenses and communications. It's also supported carrier strike group deployments worldwide, providing critical electronic cover against emerging threats. And it's been deployed alongside Air Force and Marine Corps assets, integrating into joint force packages for full-spectrum electronic warfare dominance. From its roots as a Super Hornet spin-off to its current role as the world's premier carrier-based electronic aircraft, the Growler has rapidly become indispensable. It doesn't just support the fight, it shapes it, making modern air dominance possible by taking the enemy's eyes and ears completely out of the game. At a glance, the EA-18G Growler looks almost identical to the Super Hornet. But once you start digging into the details, you realize it's a very different beast. Built on the same FA-18F airframe, it measures 60.3 feet or 18.4 meters long, it has a wingspan of 44.9 feet or 13.7 meters long, and a height of 16 feet or 4.9 meters high. Fully loaded for a mission, it can weigh up to 66,000 pounds or 29,937 kilograms at max takeoff weight. Its internal fuel capacity is just over 14,000 pounds, with the option to carry additional tanks on the fuselage and underwing pylons for extended range. Under the hood, the Growler's powered by two General Electric F414 GE400 turbofan engines. Each engine cranks out about 22,000 pounds of thrust with the afterburners lit. That's a combined 44,000 pounds of thrust pushing the jet at takeoff. In a clean configuration, meaning no jamming pods or external fuel tanks, it can sprint to around Mach 1.8, which is about 1,190 miles per hour. It can climb past 50,000 feet, and it's able to pull 7.5 Gs or more, all while managing some of the most complex electromagnetic warfare in the world. And depending on loadout and mission profile, its combat radius is roughly 390 nautical miles, or about 450 miles on the ground. With aerial refueling though, the Growler's range is essentially unlimited, critical when operating deep inside contested airspace. It's optimized for high-speed, low-level flight, and its twin engines give it the thrust to weight and acceleration needed to punch through the danger zone or bail out fast if the mission goes south. Structurally, the Growler's airframe is strengthened compared to the basic Super Hornet to handle the additional weight and drag of the electronic warfare systems. It also has some aerodynamic differences. First, the wing fences. Small, vertical surfaces mounted to the top of the wings were added to help control airflow at high angles of attack, especially when loaded with heavy jamming pods or fuel tanks. Second, the leading edge of the wings features a smoother sawtooth design compared to the Super Hornet, which helps manage airflow and reduce drag, particularly during high-speed, low-level flight. The fuselage and wing pylons are specially reinforced to support the extra weight of the jamming pods, fuel tanks, or self-defense missiles without compromising handling. Its radar cross-section is lower than older aircraft like the EA-6B, but nowhere near as stealthy as the F-22 or the F-35. The Growler relies on speed, agility, and electronic warfare, not invisibility. The cockpit and avionics are where the Growler truly separates itself. The cockpit is a two-person setup, pilot in the front and electronic warfare officer in the back. Both have digital glass cockpits with multifunction displays, but the EWO's workstation is loaded with controls for jamming pods, radar receivers, data links, and real-time threat analysis. Key systems for this include the ALQ-218 receiver suite that's built into the wingtips and fuselage. This system passively detects, identifies, and geolocates enemy radar emitters in real time. The ALQ-99 tactical jamming system is an underwing pod that can blast enemy radar and communications with targeted jamming signals. These are the workhorse of the Growler, but they're aging and they're being replaced by the next generation jammer. Then there's the AN/APG-79 Active Electronically Scanned Array Radar, or ASA radar. This is the same powerful radar as the Super Hornet, giving the Growler air-to-air and air-to-ground targeting capability even while jamming. And finally, there's the data link system. Secure, real-time network links that let Growlers share electronic intelligence with each other and with strike fighters, AWACS, or ground units. Supporting all these high-powered systems requires serious onboard infrastructure. The Growler features upgraded electrical generators and advanced cooling systems designed specifically to handle the immense power and heat generated by its jammers and sensors, something few other jets are built to sustain. The Growler shares much of its basic construction with the Super Hornet. High-strength aluminum alloys, titanium in key load-bearing areas like landing gear and wing roots, composite materials in places like the tail, leading edges, and some other key panels to help reduce weight and minimize radar signature. Its landing gear is famously rugged, designed for the brutal punishment of carrier catapults and trap landings, absorbing 4+ Gs of force every time it slams down on the deck. Because it's carrier-based and saltwater is metal's worst nightmare, the Growler also features corrosion-resistant coatings and heavy-duty structural reinforcements to help survive saltwater environments better than most land-based jets. The Growler isn't really designed to win dogfights. It's designed to win wars before the enemy ever knows what hit them. While other fighter jets are busy dodging missiles, the Growler's up front actively shutting down the threats that would otherwise shoot them out of the sky. It's like the ultimate bodyguard, clearing a path for strike fighters, bombers, and even ground forces by taking out the enemy's eyes, ears, and targeting systems. To achieve all of this, the Growler employs a few key tactics. First is radar jamming. Using its ALQ-99 or next-gen jammer pods, The Growler can target specific enemy radars, whether it's surface-to-air missile batteries, enemy aircraft, or early warning systems, and flood them with electronic noise, rendering them useless. It can also disrupt communications. It can block enemy radio communications, preventing them from coordinating defenses or calling for help. It's also capable of electronic surveillance. It can passively detect and classify enemy radar signals, building a real-time electronic map of the battle space before providing that to other key assets. For missions like the one we saw in Top Gun, they would use escort jamming. They'll fly alongside strike aircraft to shield them from enemy detection and engagement. And then finally, they can do what's called standoff jamming. It's able to operate from outside the range of enemy weapons and reach in to jam defenses without exposing itself. In short, if the enemy can't see you, can't talk to each other, and can't shoot at you effectively, you win. And then there are a couple of secondary missions for the Growler. First is self-defense air combat. While not built for traditional dogfighting, the Growler carries 2 AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles for self-defense. And thanks to the AN/APG-79 ASA radar, it has excellent situational awareness. And in a pinch, a skilled Growler crew can defend themselves if things get a little spicy. And they can also do kinetic strikes. Growlers can carry AGM-88 HARM missiles, or high-speed anti-radiation missiles, which are specialized weapons designed to home in on enemy radar emitters and physically destroy them. When jamming isn't enough, the Growler will just blow the radar right off the map. And while we don't hear much about the Growler, it's been a key asset in some of the most important modern conflicts. During Operation Odyssey Dawn in 2011, the Growler made its combat debut over the skies of Libya. It was tasked with enforcing a no-fly zone. Flying alongside coalition forces, Growlers jammed Libyan radars and air defenses, making it safer for Allied jets to conduct airstrikes. They were able to turn it into a true no-fly zone for anyone except Allied aircraft. Without Growlers blinding enemy systems, air operations over Libya would have been far riskier. From 2014 to the present day, they've been used in Operation Inherent Resolve over Iraq and Syria. Growlers have played a critical role supporting airstrikes against ISIS by jamming their radars, communication nodes, and even disrupting ISIS command structures. They've helped Allied strike aircraft hit targets with near impunity. More recently, with the Houthis bombing shipping lanes in the Red Sea, Growlers have been used to help enforce freedom of navigation. Jets from VAQ-130, the Zappers, completed over 700 combat missions, supporting maritime security and attacking Houthi radar installations in Yemen. These missions mark the first combat use of the AGM-88 HARM missile by the Growlers, neutralizing surface-to-air missile threats before they could endanger coalition ships and aircraft. In April of 2024, they were used in one of the most impressively successful modern operations ever. When Iran launched over 300 missiles and drones at Israel, Growlers deployed from US Navy carriers in the region and provided critical electronic warfare support. They were used to jam Iranian radar networks and disrupt drone guidance systems to help Israel and US forces intercept over 99% of incoming threats. Without Growlers working in the background, the defense effort could have been far less successful. Behind every Growler mission is a 2-person crew operating in perfect harmony. The EA-18G Growler flies with 1 pilot in the front seat and 1 electronic warfare officer in the back seat. The pilot focuses on flying the jet, navigating through hostile airspace, positioning the aircraft for maximum effect, and defending against airborne threats if necessary. The EWO, meanwhile, operates the Growler's powerful suite of sensors, jammers, and communication systems, identifying enemy radar emitters, targeting specific threats for jamming, managing electronic attacks in real time, and firing the AGM-88 HARMs or ARGA missiles if radar sites need to be physically destroyed. Together, they're a tightly integrated team, constantly communicating and constantly adapting. Growler crews are often described as having one mind across 2 seats. Timing, decision-making, and threat prioritization have to be nearly instinctive. Because when you're flying into hostile airspace covered in radars and SAMs, there's no margin for error. Becoming a Growler crew member isn't easy. For pilots, the journey typically looks like this. First, they start at the Navy Flight School, earning their wings flying T-6 Texans and T-45 Goshawks, where they learn the basics and advanced fighter tactics. Then they're assigned to VAQ-129, the Vikings, which is the Fleet Replacement Squadron. This is a specialized EA-18G training squadron at Naval Air Station Whidbey Island. Here, pilots learn how to fly and fight the Growler. They also learn carrier operations, electronic attack escort tactics, threat reactions, low-level ingress, and jamming mission planning. For the electronic warfare officers, it's a similar path. They begin at the Naval Flight Officer Training, where they focus on navigation, radar operations, communications, and tactical data links. Then they also move on to VAQ-129, where they dive into the electronic attack syllabus. Here, they learn the intricacies of managing electronic warfare systems, emitter geolocation, mission planning, real-time jamming management, and weapons employment. There are a few key specialized skills that Growler crews need to master through all of this. First is electronic order of battle analysis. Being able to read the enemy's radar network and identify which systems need to be jammed, spoofed, or destroyed, and when. Next is network-centric warfare. This allows them to be part of a highly connected battle space, sharing threat data with other Growlers, strike fighters, AWACS, and ground assets. They also need to know how to suppress enemy air defenses by coordinating kinetic strikes with electronic suppression to physically remove the threats when needed. Understanding dynamic threat response is also a must. This means adjusting jamming strategies mid-mission as enemy systems change tactics or bring hidden radars online. And then finally, carrier operations. Launching from and landing on aircraft carriers, arguably the most demanding flight operations in aviation. Some Growler crews, especially those attached to expeditionary VAQ squadrons or forward deployed forces, train for special operations support missions, operating in extremely high threat environments. This includes low-level terrain masking, emissions control operations, and direct support to special operations insertions. This demands an even higher level of proficiency, discipline, and adaptability. Bottom line is that Growler crews are more than just a pilot and a backseater. They're highly specialized electronic warriors, experts in operating unseen, disrupting enemy battle plans, and shaping the fight before the first missile is even fired. Their training pipeline is long, grueling, and extremely selective. But that's exactly what it takes to master one of the most complex, high-stakes missions in modern air power. Unlike older electronic warfare aircraft, the Growler was built with open architecture systems. That means its software and hardware are modular, upgradable, and adaptable. One of the biggest recent innovations is the transition from the older ALQ-99 pods to the AN/ALQ-249 next-generation jammer system. The NJG brings far more power than the ALQ-99, able to target a wider range of frequencies at greater distances. It also has digital beamforming, allowing precise, steerable jamming beams. It has open systems architecture for easy software updates and new capabilities, and better resistance to enemy jamming and cyber attacks. Once the full NGJ suite is deployed, a single Growler will have far more power, precision, and range than ever before, giving it an advantage even against the newest surface-to-air missile systems like Russia's S-400 or China's HQ-9B, which are actually both subpar compared to the US's Patriot system. It's not just keeping up with the threats, it's staying ahead of them. Now, the Growler can fight threats in two ways: non-kinetically by jamming and blinding enemy systems, and kinetically by firing weapons like the AGM-88 HARM and ARGA missiles. This dual capability gives crews options: jam a radar if they want to confuse it, or destroy it if they just want to delete it. And that flexibility is vital in high-threat environments where decisions have to be made in seconds. Unlike many other electronic warfare aircraft, the Growler was designed from day one to operate from aircraft carriers. It can launch from a moving ship with the catapult, withstand the brutal landings, fold its wings for tight parking on crowded flight decks, and withstand the brutal saltwater environment for months at sea. This means the Growler brings electronic war power anywhere a US Navy carrier sails, without needing foreign air bases or long logistics tails. It's portable electronic dominance. Without Growlers punching holes in enemy defenses, even the best stealth jets in the world would face much higher risks. That's why Growlers are often attached directly to strike packages. They make the entire force more lethal, more survivable, and more successful. Now, with all this super advanced technology, how much does it cost to build a flying electronic warfare arsenal? The short answer is a lot. It's an expensive aircraft, but the Growler's capabilities make every dollar count. Are you ready for this? Each EA-18G Growler costs roughly $85 to $100 million per unit, depending on configuration, upgrades, and year of manufacture. That makes it one of the most expensive variants of the Super Hornet family, but it's still significantly cheaper than developing an all-new aircraft from scratch. Operating costs are a little harder to pin down, but generally fall between $20,000 and $25,000 per flight hour. That includes things like fuel, maintenance, parts, personnel, support equipment, and it adds up fast, especially when you're running round-the-clock carrier ops or high-tempo combat missions. But when the mission is make sure no one else gets shot down, the Growler earns its keep. Right now, only 2 countries fly the EA-18G Growler. The United States is by far the largest operator, with around 160 aircraft in active and reserve squadrons. They're also deployed globally with US Navy carrier groups and expeditionary detachments. And they've been used in combat operations across the Middle East, Africa, and the Pacific. The only other nation that operates the Growler is Australia. The Royal Australian Air Force initially acquired 12 Growlers, purchased under close partnership with the US Navy. Stationed at RAAF Base Amberley, these jets give Australia a frontline electronic warfare capability that's rare even among NATO allies. Unfortunately, in 2018, one of their Growlers was lost in an accident at Nellis Air Force Base, reducing their fleet to just 11, but replacements or upgrades are under discussion. The Australian Growlers are fully interoperable with US Navy aircraft, and crews train together frequently. It's a textbook example of Allied force integration done right. The EA-18G Growler has been a battlefield game changer for over a decade now, and looking ahead, it's not slowing down anytime soon. The US Navy plans to keep the Growler operational well into the 2040s, and possibly even longer. There's currently no direct replacement on the horizon. Instead of building an all-new airframe, the strategy is incremental modernization, upgrading the Growler systems to keep it lethal against evolving threats. And here's how they're doing it. Currently, the Growler's undergoing a major Block 2 modernization, which includes upgraded cockpits, improved electronic warfare systems, enhanced networking, and open mission systems architecture. The first Block 2 Growlers began flight testing in 2021, and the fleet-wide upgrades are expected to continue into the late 2020s, with the goal of keeping the Growler fully mission-ready through the 2040s. The transition to the next-generation jammer is one of the most important evolutions for the Growler. While there's no official program yet, the Navy and military-industrial complex are studying long-term possibilities for future developments. These include things like unmanned electronic warfare support, using drones like the MQ-25 Stingray or other future loyal wingman-type platforms to extend the Growler's capability without putting crews at risk. And of course, artificial intelligence. Future Growlers could integrate AI to manage the immense flood of electronic data, automatically suggesting jamming priorities or even flying semi-autonomously in high-threat zones. As of today, there's no scheduled retirement date for the Growler. It's expected to serve alongside F-35Cs and eventually the NGAD, Next Generation Air Dominance Systems. The Growler's combination of carrier basing, network integration, modular upgrades, and next-generation jamming all means that it will remain the cornerstone of US electronic attack capabilities for the foreseeable future. It's not just surviving the future of warfare, it's helping define it. If you ask pilots and electronic warfare officers who fly the Growler what it's like, one thing becomes clear. This jet isn't just a machine, it's a mindset. Growler crews often describe themselves as part of a tight-knit, specialized family within naval aviation. Flying a Growler demands fast decision-making, seamless communication, deep technical knowledge, and complete trust between pilot and EWO. It's not enough to just fly the aircraft. You have to control the invisible battle space. As one EWO put it, we're fighting an enemy you can't see, you can't hear, and you can't touch. But if we do our jobs right, the enemy never knows we're there. Here's what a few pilots had to say about it. You're flying a fighter with the brain of a wizard. You're a jack of all trades, part fighter pilot, part electronic attack officer, part mission commander. The Growler doesn't just protect strike aircraft, it shapes the whole battle. You're not just flying your own jet, you're making the entire air wing more lethal. There's a certain quiet confidence among Growler crews. They know they're rarely the ones dropping bombs or dogfighting for the headlines, but without them, none of the other jets get home. As one Growler pilot said after an exercise, they gave the F-22s and the F-35s all the credit for killing targets. We smiled. They wouldn't have gotten close without us. At the end of the day, the EA-18G Growler isn't the flashiest jet in the hangar. It doesn't carry the biggest bombs, it doesn't capture the most headlines, and you rarely see it leading the flyover at a football game. But make no mistake, when it's time to punch a hole in the most dangerous airspace on Earth, the Growler is the jet you want leading the way. It's a force multiplier, the shield ahead of the sword, the quiet professional that makes the impossible missions possible. From the deserts of Libya, to the mountains of Iraq, to the skies over Israel, and the waters of the Pacific. The Growler has been there, blinding radars, scrambling comms, and protecting the mission. And with its Block 2 upgrades and next-generation jammer systems coming online, it's only getting sharper. In an era of faster missiles, smarter air defenses, and ever more connected battle spaces, the Growler isn't just keeping up, it's setting the standard. They may not fire the first shot, but they make sure their team does. Because sometimes the most important battles aren't fought with missiles or guns. They're fought with ones and zeros, with noise and silence. And in that fight, the Growler reigns supreme.